Welcome back for the afternoon part of our conference. I had the opportunity to walk around to a few tables and introduce myself, and the energy that I was feeling from everyone who's here was just palpable and exciting. And I hope that of the 30 or 40 students that I talked to, I hope everybody here is having as an exciting day as they have had. From what I've heard, it's been a great morning. So let's give a round of applause to all of our speakers. The Pioneer Valley is really growing with its entrepreneurial ecosystem, and the Grinspoon Entrepreneurship Initiative is very much at the heart of that. You've all probably met some people from Valley Venture Mentors today. They were speakers on the Shark Tank, and they were speakers in other sessions. They are very active with monthly meetings and training sessions, and I strongly recommend that you all think about coming and attending some of their events. It's a great group and very open and welcoming, very inclusive. They're about to launch the first local accelerator competition that you'll be hearing about probably in the next few weeks. And like I said, they would love to have students attend their monthly meetings. I also hear that there may be an innovation cafe opening in downtown Springfield sometime in the near future. So there's a lot going on in downtown Springfield. Before we go to hear our keynote speaker, I want to introduce you to a few important people. In addition to the faculty members who I introduced you to this morning, also representing us here today is a few members of our Grinspoon Entrepreneurship Advisory Committee. They're the ones that review the Spirit Award nominations that I talked about this morning, and they are the ones that make the final decisions on who gets the different awards. So here with us today, and please hold your applause until I read through everyone, we have Adrian Bailey Dion, who's our Chief Operating Officer at the Foundation, Diane Doherty. Diane is the Regional Director of the Mass Small Business Development Center, Western Mass Regional Office. Dr. Linda Peters is the founding director of this initiative and a professor at the Eisenberg School of Management at UMass. And Dean Eric Guven, who is the Dean of the Law School at Western New England University. So thank you all for the great work that you do. And last but not least, you heard me this morning talk about the man we have to thank for bringing us here today together to advance entrepreneurship education here in the Pioneer Valley, the very generous Mr. Harold Grinspoon. I would like to introduce to you Jay Leonard, who will be introducing our keynote speaker. Jay Leonard is an economic researcher at Babson Capital, and in his spare time, he is the new co-head for the Springfield Venture Fund and is a board member for Valley Venture Mentors. Get to know Jay. He is a huge advocate for entrepreneurship in our region. Jay?
Thank you, Carrie. There's a lot of people here. Just for my own sake, and I think the number is going to be reasonably small, but I suspect it'll be bigger in years to come. How many of you have ever been to a Valley Venture Mentors meeting? That's a pretty good sized number. It'll be bigger next year. You guys should come. Second Wednesday of the month, 5 p.m. over at Tower Square. It's a lot of fun. You can find us on Eventbrite, valleyventurementors.org. So, Parker Holcomb is a good friend of mine, and Carrie asked me to introduce him today. It's easy to find nice things to say about Parker. One of the funny things about Parker, though, is he's still writing his speech. And he'll tell me when he's done, so I may talk for a very, very long time. Parker's from Texas. He went to Amherst College. And he started All College Storage, which is the largest entity that he is in charge of running. And while he was a student there, and he's still running it today. He graduated in 2011. He participated in Valley Venture Mentors and in the Grinspoon program. I think the most remarkable thing to me about Parker is how hard he works. You don't really get that because he seems like a pretty chill dude. But he really busts his ass and he works really, really hard at understanding the things that have to be right about what his business is. He didn't know nearly any of the things he needed to know to make his business work, but he committed himself to figure it out, found the people that he needed to find, and got it done. I've had many great mentors in my life, and one of the things that they've told me over and over and over again is if you want the things that we have, you do the things that we do. And we could all do well by following Parker's example. Parker.
Thank you. Thank you, Jay, for the introduction. Thank you, Harold, and the Grinspoon Entrepreneurship Initiative for inviting me to speak here. I've been involved with the initiative for several years since I was at Amherst, and it's a great honor to be invited to come up here and speak and give my 2 cents. So. Jay got some of that right, and I have indeed been working full-time as an entrepreneur since my graduation in 2011. So being your own boss is great. Making happy customers, making money, and being your own boss is incredible, but it pales in comparison to one of the greatest benefits of entrepreneurship, which is the ability to constantly learn, the constant ability to discover, to grasp, hone new skills. The experience has been incredibly rewarding, but it's not all sunshine and kitten videos. Entrepreneurship can be hard, it can be lonely, it can be difficult decisions. So there are plenty of definitions that I've heard of an entrepreneur over the past several years, but one of my favorite ones that's rang the most true to me is an entrepreneur is somebody who jumps off a cliff and figures out how to build a plane on the way down. Both parts can be incredibly difficult, and I'm still trying to figure out how to build a plane, but I want to share a few things that I've learned while jumping off cliffs with you. So first and foremost, entrepreneurship is hard. If entrepreneurship wasn't supposed to be hard, they wouldn't have made it so darn hard to spell. And there might not be anything that illustrates how hard entrepreneurship is more so than getting started, jumping off that cliff. It takes a certain level of confidence, it takes a certain level of craziness, and a whole lot of hard work. If there's one thing I can say about entrepreneurs that I've met in the past 7 years, it's that we're all a little bit neurotic. Yes, there's some problem that we're all so anal about, so bothered by, that we had to dedicate our lives to solving. So what drives me nuts? Well, namely, it's large, aimless groups of people trying to get things done. One example of something that grinds my gears is a group of guys standing around trying to coordinate a pickup basketball game. I mean, it's just so straightforward to me. I mean, let's just get it together, take shots, get in line, get it started. I mean, efficiency, people, efficiency, right? So the bad news is that being this type A doesn't always make you friends at the gym, but it might help you. But it might help you come up with business ideas that you might want to solve. So, for example, there was this one time I started a storage company, and as Jay said, I'm from Texas, and I went off to boarding school in Connecticut for a year. My parents were still home in Dallas. I had since gotten into Amherst College and knew I was coming up here after the end of the summer. But certainly wasn't going to take my mini fridge back home to Texas or any of my winter clothes. So we took this route and pulled a favor with a friend who lived in Syracuse. That's right, we drove 8 hours out of the way in order to drop my stuff in a friend's garage. So a year later, when I was at the end of my freshman year at Amherst, I knew that there had to be a better way, or at least I figured that there was. So I looked into it and took the initiative of coordinating amongst my group of friends. So yes, there were some options out there on what to do with my stuff other than drive them over to Syracuse, New York, but I thought they were nauseatingly inefficient as well. They took such ridiculous ideas as calling somebody, printing out a piece of paper, mailing in a check. I mean, I didn't even know where a stamp goes, but apparently it goes there. So, during my search, I met a local storage facility owner with excess capacity. We both knew that we could run a more efficient operation. One thing led to another, and the summer after my freshman year, Five College Storage, it's now become All College Storage, was born. So by the start of sophomore year, 5CS had now grown into a four-way partnership: Gabe, Zach, Parker, and local business guy. Later on in the story, local business guy ends up being involved in some illegal activity that ends up with us having the police and the courts involved, so we're just going to leave him as local business guy. Throughout sophomore year, we did what was necessary to establish a business. We didn't always know what that was, but we did whatever was necessary. I knew I needed a simple website and a paperless operation. Now, I'd always been a verified tech snob. This had happened ever since my dad handed down his Palm Pilot to me in 3rd grade, but I didn't actually know how to code. I didn't know how to make an actual website myself. But I knew I'd figure it out, and through meeting a local web developer, we had our simple website. Gross, no pictures, just text. I'm not sure why anyone ever entered a credit card into that. But it works. So what arose out of this first year was a simple but functional and paper-free website, pricing model, advertising and operational experience, a few $1,000s, and a heck of a lot of enthusiasm. We were rearing to go for another season. We knew we could offer this service beyond the 5 college area. The problem was that the opportunity was a full 11 months away. But we were hooked on the business and we couldn't wait to get back at it. So post-sophomore summer, we just decided to start another business, and we started a laundry company. So we followed a similar formula, built a website, got administrators on board, marketed the services, and got customers signed up. Then all we had to do was the pickup, wash, dry, fold, and operations all year round. With a week to go before the service started, we had already made over $10,000 in sales and felt like we knew how to do it all. All with the big, giant exception of we had zero idea how to do any laundry. We had a service starting the following week. We had taken $10,000 from our peers, and we had no idea how to process the laundry. But again, we weren't worried about it. We figured it out. We never had any doubt. Just do it, as a certain shoe entrepreneur, Phil Knight, would say. So this has been certainly a guiding principle of entrepreneurship. You don't know how to solve the problems in front of you. You have no idea what problems lay on the horizon. But you have the personal confidence that between you and the people around you, you'll be able to figure it out. All right. So getting started, entrepreneurship is hard. Another part, commit. Decisions are hard. So there's really no better time to start a business than while you're in college. You have access to an incredible amount of resources and opportunities, from faculty and staff eager to help, to potential co-founder classmates, to per se a entrepreneurship conference on a random Friday. But like everything else, being a college entrepreneur has an expiration date on it. I was exactly at this crossroads, a situation all of you are about to have on the horizon. What are you going to do after graduation? Long before I ever started a storage company, I thought the perfect idea would be go into management consulting. I'm not sure exactly why I knew that I wanted to be a management consultant, other than it would provide the certain level of prestige and paycheck that I thought would be an appropriate next step after college. So during my senior fall, I did everything necessary to prepare for that interview. I spent countless hours preparing for the case interview portion by reading prep books. I exchanged mock interviews with my roommates, and I studied mental math at any possible chance. All this preparation led me to a final round interview at Bain Capital headquarters in Boston. I thought I had been prepared for any question that they would ask about a case interview or any resume thoughts that they would have. But it was actually a question that I asked one of the interviewers that kind of rocked my world. So one of my interviewers, her name was Lisa, had what seemingly the perfect resume. She had gone to Brown undergrad, then on to Bain, then on to Harvard Business School, and then back to Bain as an associate. So I'm big on advice, and I knew that I had to ask her what her thought process was as she was graduating college. And what she said back to me really rang true. She said to me that, well, I've always wanted to do something entrepreneurial, but the longer I'm here, the less likely that becomes. The longer I'm here, the less likely that becomes. So Lisa had only done my case interview. She was unaware of the businesses that I had already started and that I was wrestling with the decision of trying to go down the entrepreneurial route or go on a more traditional path like consulting or finance, like so many of my peers were. The decision could not have been more difficult. All college had produced some incredible learning experiences and momentum, but at that time, it's not like we were producing finance level profits. And I really thought that I could leverage that business experience from all college, plus my pending college degree, into that well-paid, prestigious job that I'd always dreamed about. So throughout the decision-making process, I did the best to get the advice of my friends, family, mentors. And so let me take a moment to say that there's nothing more important than surrounding yourself with genuine friends and mentors. These individuals are people that you can look up to, that you can aspire to emulate, individuals you can trust. Trust not only because of their business advice, but trust that they have your best interests at heart. Through their shared experiences, mentors can provide anything from a new perspective to a new connection. No one succeeds in business by going at it alone. And while failure is certainly be the best teacher, it's sometimes great to learn from other people's mistakes as well. I've been very lucky to have some great mentors throughout my years, many of whom are sitting here in this room tonight or today. But back to graduation. So I did my best to take in all of that advice from all these different mentors and transform it into a clear path on which I was going to go. I realized that was a pretty big, fool's errand. The road is long, and there's no way that you're going to know what you're going to be doing at 45 by what you're doing at 25. But given all that uncertainty, the most important thing is to keep learning, to keep building up your human capital. So one of my favorite mentors is a guy, Abe Lincoln, you might have heard of. And one of my favorite quotes from Abe Lincoln is, "Give me 6 hours to cut down a tree, and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." So I knew that by going through with all college, or as I was considering this, I had known that it had given me the opportunity to explore hands-on way more things that I would get in a management consulting role or anything else that was a clear path and a desk job. All college had given me exposure to things like sales and marketing, lawsuits, logistics, web development, design. Again, there's no better way to learn something than by doing. And considering I was the only full-time employee at the time, I was certainly doing a whole lot of doing. So I decided to jump off the cliff, continue full-time, and continue to sharpen the axe. Now, I have to admit that this would be a way better story if I had actually got offered the job at Bain and turned it down to pursue my entrepreneurial dreams. But hey, it doesn't always work out as planned. So you got to continue to sharpen the axe. So stay sharp. By spring of 2013, I had been out for a couple of years, and by a lot of measures, my entrepreneurial road was going well. All College Laundry had passed 6 figures in revenue. All College Storage had grown to 23 campuses across 5 states. And my iPhone app, eHighlighter, had just been featured by my all-time favorite company and product, Evernote. So, just a show of hands, how many of you guys are familiar with Evernote? Okay, if you're not, this is, I don't work for them, I've never been paid $1, but I have to give them a plug that it is one of the most transformational products that I've experienced in the last 5 years. It's an opportunity to upload your short-term memory to the cloud and worry about all these other ideas. And not only is the product great, I really think that their company and their founder has a great message. When I launched eHighlighter, it was far from a cakewalk. When I first envisioned the ideas, only a few months after college, I had no idea how to push a line of production code. Now, I had had experience with designing products and managing development teams and firms through several iterations of all college websites and applications. But eHighlighter was a tool with a way level higher of technical complexity. The idea behind eHighlighter was, or still is, that you're able to take Kindle-style highlights, but while you're reading out of a paper book. So it allows you to snap a picture of the page with your iPhone, and then you can select a specific sentence or paragraph, and that will be transcribed into something that's then searchable, sortable, exportable into Evernote or to your email. You can review it online as well. The idea there was, again, trying to be efficient. If you snap the picture and just place the markers, you can have that sentence transcribed in 5 or 10 seconds, as opposed to having to write it down, type it out to a notebook, and then put it into your research paper later. So I had this idea, and I needed to find a way to get it done as I had before. After exploring every way short of learning to code at the time, I ended up having the first version developed by an offshore group of developers in Bangalore. After 6 intense, largely nocturnal months of managing a group of non-English speakers halfway around the globe, we launched eHighlighter for back to school in 2012. While they had accomplished some impressive technical tasks, I knew that relying on offshore contract developers was not a sustainable path. If something went wrong at 3 p.m., the only thing I could do is fire off a series of emails and pray for a response. To say that I got in over my head, technically speaking, is a huge understatement. I thought I could solve some of these technical problems or these technical shortcomings by hiring a full-time local developer named Peter. We were going to work on the product and take it on new iterations. But I quickly learned that I was in really no place to be a chief executive lead from the front when that developer started to run into his own problems. My previous experience of working with a storage business and knowing the most efficient way to route a truck did not apply here. So things did not work out with Peter. Peter disappeared after about 3 months. I gave him a laptop to work on it. He never returned that laptop. That sucked. But one of the worst things is I had a product that was put out there that a lot of people liked. Evernote had, my favorite Evernote had just promised us, or had just featured us as a promoted app. But I still knew there were several features that had to be changed, and I had no idea how to make those changes myself. So at that point, eHighlighter got moved a little bit to the back burner. The story picks up about 6 months later when, fortuitously, I got to meet Phil Libin at the end of a keynote, and he invited me to get lunch after I pitched or stalked him for a while. Our hour-long conversation could basically be summed up in a few memorable lines. How many more times are you going to walk into the room and say, "I'm not the tech guy"? The world is programmed. If you want to change the world, you need to know how the world works. Phil's suggestion was I use the products and businesses that I had already had in front of me and spend the next few years or however long of my life and learn how to code. That conversation was about 18 months ago, and I've took every word to heart since then. Learning to code, like starting a business, has been an extremely difficult, frustrating, and all the time rewarding process. I started working on eHighlighter in Xcode by working with a partner who I would pair program with once a week. He would come over to my apartment and he would lead the development. The first time I had no idea what he was doing. Second time, no idea. Third idea, no idea. Fourth time, not really an idea. Fifth time, it kind of looked familiar. And then I do remember this one specific time where we spent probably 8 hours together, and everything kind of looked familiar by then. He went on, he left, and I just kept going for, till 5 o'clock in the morning or something like that. It was the smallest amount of changes. It wasn't anything significant, but I was able to then change a button color, change the position, fix a typo, and push that change to the App Store. I was finally in the master of my own destiny. I wasn't beholden to calling people throughout the middle of the night or begging people to come help me. So eHighlighter was an extremely, like I said, technically complex project, and I was not the engineer that I needed to be in order to contribute to that product. I also knew that I needed to learn a language and start a project from the bottom up. I'd come in, I'd tinkered around, I'd made some changes, and that was a great feeling. But like I talked about with ownership before, it really is incredible to be able to start something from the beginning and have something to show for it at the end of the day. So I knew I had 2 other projects, all college storage and all college laundry, to be able to work on that implementation. So all college storage, starting this past January, I started working on this 80% of my time along with somebody to help me out. We started from nothing and moved it all the way through a product that ended up supporting my business operations this past summer. It supported it so well that we were able to implement features and tools and customer service requests that we were never able to access before. Primarily, it was just incredible to be able to know that people were using something that I had actually built. After that, I went on to build my first project this past summer, which maybe was a little more simple, but was the laundry site, and was the first site that I'd built, top to bottom myself. Jumping off the cliff, getting started, it's all an extremely educational experience. You learn from your failures. You try to pick up your advice from your mentors, but it's all an extremely personal decision. You got to get started. You have to be the master of your own destiny. So my favorite quote, and a couple of my mentors and friends were arguing over whether to end with a cheesy quote, but I really do try to live by this. I have it written on my whiteboard. I read it every day, and it's by a Greek philosopher named Epictetus. And the quote is, first say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do. Thank you. Yeah, there's gonna be mics going around. Would be happy to answer anything.
My name is Serena. I'm from Mount Holyoke, and transferred to Mount Holyoke this summer from Brooklyn, New York. And I had the same idea about laundry, because in New York people never do their laundry by themselves. They're always busy.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the services. We actually call the people. They come to your house, pick up the laundry. It's basically 50 to 75 cents per pound. Then take your laundry, they clean it, wash it, fold it, and bring it back and put it next to your door.
Mm-hmm.
And I missed it so much because I realized I don't know how to do my laundry, I don't have time, I'm so busy. And I had this idea, I have to open the laundromat and make my own business, and you stole it.
I'm not sure that's how time works, but okay.
Yeah, the question is, do you need partners?
The full story is we used to offer the service in Mount Holyoke, and there was an administrative environment there that wasn't ready for that at the time. That being said, when I started the laundry business at Amherst, we came up with, similarly, had the experience of using a service like ours in both boarding school and at home. And the administrator said, no, we're not really interested in something like that. And I was at home in Texas at the time, and I talked to the dean of Res Life over the phone. And he said, no, we've had that pitched before, but we're not really interested. So then I pitched it to my class dean instead. And they said, no, you need to go talk to this administrator. So I was getting fed up. We knew we could do this and pull it off, but no one was listening to me. So I flew up from Texas to Amherst in the middle of my sophomore year to try to meet with one of these deans. They yet again pushed me off, and I just kept going over their head until they finally got to a point where we got evaluated as a risk by the risk management team. We had already built the website, and then the story about having 10 grand in sales. The full story is we weren't allowed to operate, and we got the okay literally the day before students signed up. But we had gone ahead and taken the sales anyways, because again we figured we'd know how to do it. So I would say don't give up. I'm happy to talk to you if you do want to work together. But that's my experience at Mount Holyoke.
I was just curious what's next for you.
So that's an excellent question. So over the past year, since I started to learn how to code, or backing up, I guess I didn't include this. Probably should have. I really was finishing my presentation a couple minutes ago. But we went from 7 schools to 14, 14 to 23 schools in my first couple years after, and then we took a pause and really saw it like I had pushed myself to the limits of expansion. And operations had been real tough 2 years ago. And so I had taken a step back and wanted to work on this platform, able to do everything from customer signups to scheduling to text message integration to online billing to staff accounts to signups to a way to really holistically run everything. And this past year, we stayed at 23 schools, but things went so much more smoothly from this technology platform that I had built that really gave us the confidence to consider expanding or going back on that route. So you're actually sitting at the table with Gabe, who's my first full-time team member, and we're on the path of expanding this core business of the college storage market. We're also looking at taking this platform, and I've had expressed interest from storage and moving companies of having that implemented into their business process. And so we're looking at potentially taking this software and making it into a white label or a licensable or a SaaS service that we can then sell year round to different businesses.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go about marketing?
How do I go about marketing in every single way possible, right? So the colleges they'll have different regulative environments. I would say that the general philosophy would be to ask. Well, this is being recorded, but ask forgiveness and not permission, right? There's a lot of ways to try to implement or try to talk to students, and your competitors will do it if you don't. So literally in any way that you possibly can: flyers, posters, marketing, Facebook, emails, events in the dorms, events in the dining hall, items on the dining hall, chalk. Videos, literally anything you possibly can do to get the attention of one individual. So one way that we really thought about marketing was I had one of those original partners, Gabe, worked on a campaign, and he had this philosophy that you had to, or his campaign had a philosophy, you had to be able to touch a customer or reach a customer 7 times or 5 times before they were ever going to consider voting for you. And so I've really kind of thought about that philosophy myself as well. So, let's take for an example, at a school like, Amherst, we have 2,000 kids there, and maybe 1,000 of them are our potential market, right? But in order to reach those 1,000 kids 5 times, we have to try to reach the 2,000 kids 5 times as well. So, 10,000 total impressions. At a school where it's bigger and your target market's less defined, like UMass, maybe there's 20,000 kids and only 2,000 potential students. But so to reach those 2,000 5 times, you have to market to the entire base or get 100,000 impressions, all over campus. So it's a grind. It's getting people's attention in an ADD universe, and just do anything you possibly can think of.
First, I'd like to say thank you for presenting today. But you talked to us a little bit about how you learn a lot from failing as an entrepreneur. And I was curious what you would consider one of your biggest failures, and what was one of the biggest lessons you took away?
So I would say one of the biggest failures was that hiring of a CTO or co-founder or technical person coming out of the offshore experience. So it's really difficult and to make or to identify a technical co-founder. Anyone who's interested in tech startups or the kind of world, hears all the time about searching for a tech co-founder. So I had been unable to do that. And, in order to differentiate myself from the crowd and everyone else who had, an app idea and, some screenshots, I went offshore and had this built out in India. But in order to work on a product, in order to make it a real startup, a real product, you have to be able to iterate on ideas. You put the product out there. As soon as it goes from 5 people using it to our first weekend we had 5,000 people download it. There were all these edge cases that we just straight missed. And so I needed that technical co-founder, or I needed that person to onboard to iterate, respond to those ideas. And I hired this guy Peter. At the time, he had all the enthusiasm. He had some tech background. I had a technical advisor interview him for me, but he just didn't have what it took. And I just figured, since he had the background, he had the enthusiasm, we worked well together, that he was doing it well. But I wasn't checking. I didn't know about Git, or I didn't know about how to actually look at the code base. And so I just kind of trusted that he was continuing on the path. And as he was becoming increasingly frustrated, I didn't know how to really respond to that, because I thought he was just working hard, and I didn't realize that he just wasn't doing anything. So I was literally out of the country the first time that he started not responding to me. Tried to call him 2, 3, 4, 5 times. When I realized he unfriended me on Facebook, I realized we had a problem. And it kind of progressed from there. I bought a company laptop. He didn't return that. So I got in over my head. I really did not know how to lead that individual properly. But I tried to present myself that I did. I think I've tried to share what I taken away from that is, in order to be able to lead from the front, in order to be able to say, hey, we should use this technical strategy, or we're going to build out this product, you need to know a little bit what you're talking about. The question was, where did I get the funding? So the storage business had been entirely bootstrapped. When we were in college, all we needed to take out was $2,000 or $3,000 a year to feel college rich, and we were able to roll all that money back into the business. So from freshman year through senior, we were rolling it all back into the business, starting the next company, going to the next schools. So by my senior year, we were at 7 schools in 3 states with storage business and the laundry business, and then it just kind of rolled from there.
So I just want to say first, thank you so much for sharing the real, authentic story of the entrepreneurial process with all the missteps and the non-linear nature of it. So it takes a particular amount of courage to share that too. So
yeah, my pleasure.
So my question is, you've talked about having this spirit or this sense, this ability to kind of jump off the cliff because you don't know, you don't have it all figured out, to kind of take action and not ask permission or forgiveness later. So for people who don't have that, what do you recommend in terms of developing a practice to foster?
I mean, that's
it's like this essence, right? But how do you, if you don't have that? Are there things that people can do to develop that?
I mean, wow, the previous questions were butterball. I don't have an excellent answer to that, other than just try to do it in any increment that feels appropriate to you. It doesn't have to be a big funded startup where you risk your mortgage and your all of your life savings in order to throw down on a business. It could be as small as starting a local t-shirt production shop, right? And anywhere in between. So you certainly have to assess your personal risk tolerance and go from there. But I'm, to be honest, kind of BSing through this one because I just don't have that sensibility in my body. So I don't know. Good luck. Thanks, guys. So much.
I've known Parker for a few years, and I'm just amazed at how relentless and resourceful he is. He just leaves no stone unturned and does not take no for an answer. So thank you, Parker.